How's it going, everybody? So today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how to get started playing in a kind of Wes Montgomery-esque block chord improvisational style. So at first listen, this concept or this approach to guitar sounds pretty complicated, and I remember thinking that when I first heard Wes Montgomery doing this sort of soloing. Like, how could I ever learn how to do that? But the more I kind of dug and the more I kind of transcribed, I started to realize that he was using a lot of very basic chord shapes just in a very economical way to get a lot out of them. And so I'd like to talk first about this lick that I was playing at the beginning. It's not a Wes Montgomery lick, but it is highly influenced by Wes Montgomery. And then I'd like to kind of break it down and talk about what exactly is going on in it. So this lick that I was playing only uses 3 chord types, and it only uses those chord types in one inversion. So there's going to be minor 7 in root position, major 7 in root position, and then diminished 7 in root position as well. So yeah, let's just get into the lick. We start on a D minor 7, go up to an F major 7, A minor 7, C major 7, and then we have a B diminished here, but we're going to approach it by half step, and then A flat diminished, F diminished, D diminished. So just moving down diminished chords in minor thirds. I know these shapes look a little bit different, but it's only because we're switching switching string sets. So on the middle, for instance, on the middle string set, a diminished chord is going to look like this, but it sounds exactly the same as this shape on the top string set. So the shapes are going to be a little bit different, but just know we're not changing anything. The chord types are staying the same. The inversions are staying the same. So that first part of the lick again goes D minor 7, F major 7, A minor 7, C major 7, B diminished, A flat diminished, F diminished, D diminished. And then we're going to go up to an E minor 7, but we're going to approach it by half step again. E minor 7, G major 7, B minor 7, D major 7. And we're going to approach all these diminished chords by half step. So that's D flat diminished 7, approached by half step, B flat diminished, approached by half step, G diminished, approached by half step, and then E diminished, just regular, not approached. So that second part, E minor 7, G major 7, B minor 7, D major 7, and then all those approached diminished chords. And then the last part of the lick gets a little bit more complicated. We go back to a D minor 7, but we're going to kind of step away and come back. And then approach F major 7 by half step, A minor 7, C major 7, and then B diminished, approached by half step, D diminished, B diminished, and then approach A flat diminished by half step, then pop back up to B diminished and end on the C 6-9. So that last part of the lick and when I slide up between this A flat diminished and this B diminished, you kind of hit all of those in between. So that's the whole lick. I'll play it again slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. So this does seem a little bit difficult to play, but in terms of chord knowledge, it doesn't require anything probably more than what you already have. Because like I said, it's all these same 3 chord types, major 7, minor 7, and diminished 7. Now you might be wondering, okay, how do I understand that it's just those 3 chord types, but how do I pick where to put them? So this is where the trick comes in. So the first trick is whenever you have a dominant chord, treat it like a diminished chord. So any dominant chord, you can put a diminished chord on the flat 9, the major 3rd, the perfect 5th, or the dominant 7th. That's a hard and fast rule. So in this chord progression, for instance, we have a G7. So that means those diminished chords associated with this rule, flat 9, major 3rd, perfect 5th, dominant 7th, the diminished chords associated with this chord are A flat, so flat 9, right? B, major 3rd, D, perfect 5th, and F, dominant 7th. So now instead of this one chord, you have these 4 chords. So that kind of greatly increases your harmonic palette just with that one little trick. Now the other trick to this is on either the minor 7 chords or major 7 chords. This lick doesn't really have a ton of major 7 chords in it, but on minor 7 chords, what we can do is first think about the arpeggio that's associated with the root chord. So if our chord is D minor 7, the arpeggio is D, F, A, and C. So normally what we can do on those is play the inversions of D minor 7, and that's fine, but some of the shapes are kind of weird and they're all different, so it's a lot more to remember. Instead of doing that, what we can do is just alternate minor 7, major 7, minor 7, and major 7. And not only does it fit with the chord, but it actually adds extensions. They grow in color as we move up. The F major 7 adds a 9, the A minor 7 adds an 11, the C major 7 adds a 13. So we're adding extensions and growing in harmonic color as we move up these chord types. And for major chords, say C major 7, it's the exact opposite. Same concept, but opposite. So we still start on thinking about the arpeggio notes, so C, E, G, and B. But now since we start on a major chord, we alternate major and minor instead of minor and major. So C major, E minor, G major, B minor. And same thing is happening. E minor adds the 9th, G major adds the sharp 11, B minor adds the 13. Yeah, a note on that. Whenever you do extensions of major chords, they should be Lydian extensions unless otherwise noted. And whenever you do extensions of minor chords, they should be Dorian extensions unless otherwise noted. I don't really have time to get into why that is right now, but it just has to do with like the stability of the chord and the way that the intervals sound together. So that's pretty much this entire concept, of course, with the addition of the approach notes or the approach chords. That's all it is, you know. So the only reason I add the approach chords is to make it sound a little bit more like a single note line. So, you know, we might have a line, single note line like that we like to play. If we wanted to play that with chords, all we have to do is just move that that first note or that first chord up by half step, you know, approach it by half step. And that's all. And you can do that with any of the chords. Or do what we call an enclosure, which is where we play one above and one below and then the target note. And that adds a lot of movement and a lot more kind of melodic interest. But in terms of the chord shapes and the chord types, it's all the same stuff. So I hope you've gotten something, hope you've gotten something out of this. Hope you find it useful, and I hope you are able to apply it in a lot of different ways. There's always more to talk about with this stuff. So if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the comment section below or shoot me an email. I'll link my email address in the description box. If you are interested in setting up a private lesson or want to know about lesson rates, feel free to do that. But yeah, hope you're enjoying your summer. Hope you're getting some good practice time. And I'll see you next time. Happy practicing.